You've heard of Pearl Harbor, but this attack happened long before. And it wasn't a bomb that changed America. It was a drink. This is the untold story of how alcohol, the thing that built, broke, and reshaped an entire nation, turned America against itself. Before we start, comment below. Do you think America would be better today if alcohol were banned again? We're reading every comment. In this episode of Bizarre Backstory Americana, we're uncovering one of the strangest and most forgotten real stories in U.S. history. A story that began with a simple glass of whiskey and ended with the birth of organized crime, government corruption, and a nationwide war fought in the shadows. This isn't just history. This is the moment America tried to change its soul and paid the ultimate price. It all started in the late 1800s. America was booming. Factories, railroads, and cities rising faster than ever before. But behind the progress was a darker truth. Alcohol was everywhere. Men drank before work, after work, and sometimes during. Saloon doors swung open on every street corner, nearly 300,000 across the country. For many women, it wasn't just a nuisance, it was a nightmare. Families were being torn apart by addiction. Paychecks disappeared into whiskey bottles, and domestic violence was rising like never before. So a movement began, led not by politicians, but by mothers and churchwomen. They called themselves the Temperance Movement, and they believed alcohol was America's greatest evil. They marched, prayed, and smashed whiskey barrels with hatchets. One woman, Carrie Nation, became a legend for storming saloons with a Bible in one hand and an axe in the other. To many, she was a hero. To others, a fanatic. But something was changing. By the turn of the century, the idea of a dry America wasn't just a dream, it was becoming law. Then came January 17, 1920, the day the 18th Amendment officially took effect. Alcohol was now illegal. America had gone dry. At first, people celebrated. Church bells rang, newspapers declared a moral victory. But within weeks, the dream of a sober nation began to unravel. Because when something people love is taken away, they find another way to get it. Hidden bars, known as speakeasies, exploded overnight. In New York City alone, over 30,000 illegal bars opened within a year. Behind locked doors and jazz music, America learned a new dangerous skill: how to hide its vices. And with that secrecy came a new kind of empire. But here's where things get strange. The government that banned alcohol accidentally created the most powerful criminal network in American history. Gangsters like Al Capone, Dutch Schultz, and Luciano built their fortunes not from drugs or weapons, but from booze. Whiskey barrels were smuggled in milk trucks, funeral cars, even inside fake church wagons. Police officers drank on duty, judges were bribed, and ordinary Americans, the same ones who had once cheered for Prohibition, became customers. The noble experiment, as it was called, had turned into a nationwide joke. By 1925, corruption reached Washington itself. Senators were secretly drinking in back rooms. Even the president's own staff was caught running illegal shipments from the White House basement. America wasn't sober. It was drunk on hypocrisy. Meanwhile, deep in the rural South and Appalachian Mountains, something else was brewing, literally. Ordinary farmers began producing their own moonshine, powerful homemade alcohol distilled in secret stills under moonlight. These moonshiners became folk heroes, rebels fighting back against government control. They'd race down dirt roads in souped-up cars to outrun federal agents. And those cars? They eventually inspired a new American sport, NASCAR. Yes, modern stock car racing was born from illegal bootleggers outrunning the law. Prohibition didn't just fail. It transformed American culture. It gave birth to new music, new fashion, and an underground world where jazz, rebellion, and danger danced together in smoke-filled rooms. But as the chaos grew, so did the bodies. Gang wars broke out in every major city. The Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929, 7 men gunned down in Chicago, became a symbol of how far America had fallen. And all this in the name of purity. By the early 1930s, the United States was deep in the Great Depression. Millions were jobless, people were starving, and suddenly the idea of banning an entire industry, one that could create jobs and tax revenue, seemed insane. In 1933, after 13 long years of chaos, Prohibition ended. The 21st Amendment repealed the 18th, and for the first time in history, the U.S. Constitution erased one of its own laws. As champagne corks popped across the nation, one thing was clear. America hadn't just banned alcohol. It had banned a part of itself. But here's the strange twist. Even after the ban ended, the scars of Prohibition never healed. The FBI, organized crime, political lobbying, and modern alcohol regulation all trace back to this failed moral experiment. Even today, dry counties still exist across America. And the debates over addiction, control, and freedom are the same battles that began over a century ago. So did America really win its war against alcohol? Or did alcohol quietly win against America? This was the story of how a drink became a revolution, and how Prohibition changed America forever. It wasn't just a war on alcohol. It was a war on human nature. If you love forgotten American history and stories that reveal the dark, hidden side of our past, then you'll love what's coming next week. Because next time, we're uncovering a story buried beneath American soil. A forgotten disaster so bizarre, it changed the way the government hides the truth. Subscribe now before that story disappears again. Would you have supported Prohibition if you lived in 1920? Tell us below. We might feature your answer in the next video.